Welcome back to the Cars Ireland YouTube channel. My name is Anthony and this is the Q3 Sportback, the more fashion-forward version of the Audi Q3. Now it is very orange, as you can see, and it is not for the shy, retiring wallflower types. If you do anything stupid in this car, you will be noticed, you will be remembered, and honestly it has turned more heads than any other car I have ever driven. It gets a lot of attention. So we'll have a look around. Now I do love an electric tailgate, which we have here, and that is standard across the Q3 Sportback range. The boot is 530 litres, which is actually surprisingly the same as your standard Q3, thanks to being 16 millimeters longer. Every little helps. Now, it took me a lot longer than I care to admit to figure this out, but to drop these seats down, you pull this not very premium cord and they drop quite violently. Human nature kicks in and you just climb over because we're all lazy. Lean over, pull, and get whacked in the head. I do all my own stunts. Now you have 1400 litres of space, which is actually less than the standard Q3 by a bit, but it's still a very usable space, and actually it has surprised me with how practical and good it is. Ow. So, back seat of the Q3 Sportback. As you can see, it's not bad. My head brushes the ceiling ever so slightly and legroom is okay. Now you can slide these seats forward and back, but I will struggle to, obviously. That is unpleasant. That's behind me at 6 foot and it's pretty good. These are black tinted out windows and they're 680 euro option. I think I'd probably avoid them just to bring a bit more light in here and lift it ever so slightly. You do get some USB ports down here and a 12-volt charger too. All in all, not bad, and will be good for maybe a family of 4 rather than 5. Wouldn't fancy sitting here where you have your armrest and your cup holders. So the first thing you notice when sitting in the front of the Q3 Sportback is it's not as funky as the outside, but there are trapezoids everywhere. Here, here, there, the door. Oh, and the door handle is weird. It sort of floats there. Now, pricing for the Q3 Sportback is not cheap, but you might expect that. It starts at 41,000 for your kind of entry-level model and goes all the way to 58 grand for the 2-litre turbo petrol quattro loveliness. Now, this S-Line S-Tronic model is coming in at about 55 grand, and that is after extras of about 8 grand. Most of that is made up of the panoramic sunroof up here and the 20-inch alloys. Now, if I was recommending extras to pick, I would say the reversing camera is pretty necessary because the view out the back is not great and it really helps just maneuvering around the place. And for 75 quid you can get adaptive cruise control, which makes life a hell of a lot easier on the motorway. It'll just follow the car in front, adjust the speed accordingly, and just makes it all a bit more relaxing. You also have Audi's wonderful virtual cockpit with the digital dash up here in front of the driver. You can chop and change between 2 views and it's all crisp, clear and HD and lovely. You also have Audi's 10-inch infotainment screen up here in front, and it's all very nice and crisp and clear and lovely and great and has all the options except sat-nav. It has the option to click sat-nav, but when you click into it, it just says, oh, you don't have sat-nav, you have to contact Audi to get it, which is a bit of a bullseye, look at what you could have won moment. I think it's about 400 or 500 euro, but just a niggly little reminder every time you think, oh, I'll use the sat-nav. Well, you can't. You have to pay to play. One extra little touch is the ambient lighting, and you have 30 different colours to choose from as to what lights up around the dash and around the sides, and even the little Audi symbol here in front of the passenger seat. 30 colour options. Very essential. Okay, so driving the Q3 Sportback. Well, we'll start with the engine. Today we have the 1.5 TSI 4-cylinder with 150 brake horsepower, 250 Newton meters of torque, and 0 to 60 is 9.6 seconds. So Audi are still sticking with this different naming structure for the power bands of the different cars. This is a 1.5 TSI with 150 brake horsepower, so it's referred to as a 35. You can also get a 2-litre diesel in the Q3 Sportback with 150 brake horsepower, and that is a 35 TDI. So it sits in that range of, I think it's like 140 to 170 brake or something along them lines.
Simples.
If you're feeling a bit more frisky, there is the choice of a 2-litre turbo petrol with 230 brake horsepower, and that is called a 45 because it's higher in those different power band ranges. So back to what we have today. The 1.5 petrol suits this car perfectly, and to be honest, it's probably all anyone needs in this particular model. The engine picks up well enough, and there's enough torque on offer to get you out of any dodgy overtake situations and get you up to speed relatively easy. And when you do get up to those motorway speeds like 100, 120 kilometers an hour, the engine is actually surprisingly relaxed for what some people would consider a smaller engine, a 1.5. It sits at like 2,000 revs per minute at 100 kilometers an hour, which we're doing now. And if you go up to 120, it's kind of 2,300, 2,500, which obviously helps economy when the engine is only really ticking over at those kind of speeds. So you will get 6-7 litres per 100 kilometers or 40 to 45 mpg. As this is a premium, modern, technologically advanced engine and car, you do get different driving modes. 6 on offer, varying between off-road, dynamic, comfort, eco, all those lovely things. And depending on what you pick, it changes the steering, the engine response, the suspension, and your throttle inputs. I'll be honest, I didn't notice a huge amount of difference between them. The only one was maybe in dynamic mode, the engine is a bit more responsive and eager to get going. And the gearbox too. As I was saying, one of those driving modes is off-road, which is kind of stupid in a car like this, bright orange with 20-inch alloys. I don't think you're going to be doing a huge amount of off-roading, to be honest. But if you really want to test out this car in its very unnatural habitat, it has things like hill descent control, and it adjusts the traction control to help you better get over all those rugged bumps on your lovely country lane to your lovely house. What was that? Now, I kind of brushed over the gearbox there a couple of seconds ago, but it is a 7-speed S-tronic we have today. You can use your flappy paddles on the steering wheel, or you can change with the gear stick down here. To be honest, I just stick it in automatic mode and let it do the work. It's very smooth, works really well most of the time. The only downside I have found is in stop-start traffic, when you have the stop-start function in place, it's a bit jerky, and nothing mad or bad or anything like that, but actually some cars do it quite a bit better, and when everything else is so calm and serene, it jerks off the line ever so slightly, and it may irk a bit. Now, steering on the Q3 is very light, and you won't get a huge amount of feedback through the wheels, but you know what, it deals with its body roll really well, it handles easy, it maneuvers around town really well, and yeah, it's comfortable to drive. If you're feeling sporty, it's okay, it'll keep you happy. For the most part, this car is very comfortable. The only downside is this is 20-inch alloys, so if you were feeling like you wanted a bit more comfort, a bit more chunky tyres, I'd go down to 18 or 19 inches. You know, 2 inches makes a difference. So the car we have today is front-wheel drive, and to be honest, I'd be more curious to try out the El Quattro, so a 2-litre petrol, or the RSQ3, please Audi, thank you very much. There's times when it feels like it's just dragging its backside a bit. You just want it to get up and go, and it's kind of clawing at the tarmac just to get moving. And I'd love a bit of drive from the back wheels as well. You know when you see a toddler that is throwing a tantrum and the parents are just dragging along as a dead weight? If you could manifest that feeling in a car, I think that's what's happening here. So yeah, please give me a Quattro. Now, the brakes have not filled me with confidence all week. They don't seem strong enough for the car for some reason. I don't know if it's this particular model that is just, I don't know, a bad setup or whatever, but you really have to press them, and there's times when you're like, why isn't it slowing down as quick as possible? They're fine, but you just take a bit of getting used to. That's it for this week. Please do like and subscribe and come back again and watch. If you would like to search Cars Ireland for a Q3 Sportback, please click on the link above. I'll put it in there somewhere, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. Bye bye.